My name's Jesse, and welcome to another edition of Gen X Thinks. Now, I'd like to announce to y'all that this is probably going to be the last episode of Gen X Thinks. I think I'm going to move to Alaska and become a gold miner. Good money up there and that stuff, so I think I'm going to do that. Psych! What a gullible! You fall for it every time. And today I'm going to talk about how Gen X knew how to party when we were kids. And I'm going to start this out with a short little story from my late teenage years. It's probably about 17 or something. And my best buddy swiped his older brother's driver's license. He was home from college or something, and I didn't know he had done it. He just showed up one day and handed it to me, and I was expected to buy the alcohol because I had the same hair color as the license, right? And my buddy was blonde, so he couldn't do it. But other than that, that's the only thing I had in common with the driver's license. The picture looked nothing like me. The rest of the eye color was different. It was, the height and weight was off. Everything else was off. The only thing that I had in common with the picture was the hair color. But I was about 17 in there somewhere, and I took this driver's license. It was like on a Saturday morning, and me and my buddy had planned on having a get together, some kind of party, and but I don't remember the party, but I remember this incident. So I go to this little store, and I get a couple of 12 packs of beer and probably some wine coolers for the girls or something, you know, quite a bit of stuff. And I lug it up there to the counter, and I put it up there, and it was, at the time, she was like this mature, older woman, right? But now I look back, she was like 19 or 20 years old. She was a girl, you know. So, but anyway, she asked me for my ID, of course. So I pull it out and I give it to her, and I'm just standing there, and I'm trying to look cool and nonchalant as she's, like, you know, looking at this ID and looking back up at me and scrutinizing us, you know, and I look nothing like the picture. I've got a good crop of pimples, and I'm just young, you know, just a young kid, and I'm sitting there trying to act cool, but my heart rate's jacked. I can feel it. I'm scared to death that she's gonna call the cops or something. Probably got, you know, sweat running down my face. And but she looks up at me like that, and she says, "So today's your birthday, huh?" And it caught me by surprise. I hadn't even studied the driver's license enough to know what the birth date was. I didn't even look. I just looked at the picture and put it in my pocket. I didn't even know. So when she said that, I didn't know if she was like trying to trick me, if she was testing me to see if I knew the birthday or not. So it flashed through my brain, you know, is she testing me or what? And I said to myself, you know, well, I got a 50-50 chance. So I just said, yeah, today's my birthday. I'm going to have a little party, have a little get together. And she looked at it again, and she said, okay. And she hands it to me, and I pay her for the stuff, and I walk out. Of course, you know, when you're 17 and you walk out to your buddies with, you know, armload of alcohol, you're like a hero, you know what I mean? You're a demigod. You're awesome. That's how I felt walking out of there, like a total stud. Because I bought a couple 12 packs of beer. Those were the days. But Gen X did know how to party. Now, if you're a subscriber to the channel, if you watch my videos, you know that I grew up in small towns. I don't say small town, I grew up in small towns. But my parents never moved to a big city. I never lived in a big city. I've always lived in small towns. So that is where my experience is from. And I don't know, I've heard since then that a lot of Gen Xers went to teen clubs and stuff like that and did stuff like that. I never did any of that. We never had teen clubs or anything like that growing up, or where I grew up. So I know a lot of us grew up, in those type of details of our lives were different, although we grew up in the same political and media environment. We grew up, the details of how we partied and stuff were different. But partying in a small town in the 80s was a unique experience, and I'm sure a lot of small town people will agree with me, and country folks, just partying out in the country, same way, not much difference. But even like, I lived out in the country a lot of times, but my friends, lived in town, so we get together and party. Honestly, a party back then, it wasn't good. It wasn't considered a good party unless it ended with the police chasing you through a cornfield or a cemetery or something. That was a good party. Y'all rocked it then. If that happened at the end of the night, something similar happened at the end of the night. So we either had, like, an aunt's boyfriend who would buy us alcohol, or somebody had a ID like I did, or a fake ID, got a hold of a fake ID. Somehow we always managed to get a hold of it, and we'd throw parties and just do crazy stuff. I mean, we literally jumped off of rooftops into swimming pools and stuff like that. Just crazy. Or we'd end up out at an abandoned quarry. That was a good place to party because, there weren't anybody to call the cops on you there. If you wanted a quiet night, you went out to the quarry. But we'd find, like, houses that were up for sale that were empty, and we go there at night and take the cover off their swimming pool and just party in their backyard. I know the real estate agents had to hate us. They'd have to clean that crap up probably. I don't really remember, but I doubt we were fastidious about cleaning up after ourselves when we were done at 2 o'clock in the morning or whatever. And another quick story about partying. I was in Korea. I was 19. And in Korea, the barracks they look kind of like apartment buildings, but just more bleak, more plain. And I was on the second story of the apartment of the barracks, I think the second. And me and my buddies were all drinking in there and getting good and drunk. And I had opened the window for something, and I was looking out the window down at the ground, down below. And I heard my roommate yell to this other guy, "Hey man, where's my $25? You owe me $25, dude." And the guy was like, "I don't have it, man. I'm broke, dude. I'm sorry. I'll get it to you next week." And my roommate says, "Well, jump out that window and we'll call it even. You don't owe me nothing." The guy, now they were all my friends, but when you're in the military like that, people rotate in and out, you know what I mean? You might not only know a guy for 4 months or something before he goes home, because he'd already been there for 8 months when you got there. So you become friends, but not, you don't spend a lot of time together. So I don't remember all these guys' names, and I met so many people in the military, it's hard to keep them in my mind, remember all their names. But so this guy, he was red-haired guy with freckles and stuff, I remember that. But when my roommate said that to him, "Jump out that window and we'll call it even," the guy did not bat an eye. Now we're all drunk, right? This isn't, we're all good and hammered, playing loud music and stuff, rocking out to some Motley Crue or something. This guy does not bat an eye. He takes about 3 steps running toward that window, and he dives out at like Greg Louganis, like Superman, just face first. I'm not kidding. This dude did that right in front of me, because I'm standing by the window, right? And he just dives right past me like that, right out the window. And I look, and then everybody comes running up, right? And we're all looking out the window. He hits, there was like those river rocks, those round river rocks, and he hits it, hits the river rocks down there. And we're looking at him. He bounces up and goes running around and back up the stairs and comes back through the door. And when he came back through the door, we all yelled, kind of like Norm, when Norm came into the Cheers bar. We all yelled. And he took about 3-4 steps into the room, and he trips and falls, hits his head on a little like a little dresser thing, just a little piece of furniture, army issue piece of furniture. It had 2 drawers, almost like a nightstand or an end table, but for clothing. And he falls and he hits his head on the corner of that, breaks this bone here, this eye socket bone, and cuts himself open. We had to take him to the infirmary, get him sewn up, have the doctor look at him. He almost lost his eye. After diving out the window, he walks through the door, falls, and almost loses his eye, busting the side of his head open. Yeah. But that's the kind of dumb stuff that happened. Just random, weird, dumb, dangerous stuff that we would do even into our 20s, our early 20s. And that's the kind of partying I remember. Getting shit-faced and doing stuff that we shouldn't be doing. Pretty dangerous or unadvisable acts that we shouldn't be doing just to impress the girls around us or the people around us or whatever, to prove that you were the toughest or the most extreme. We did a lot of that kind of stuff. And that kind of partying, that's the way we partied throughout the 80s and probably early 90s and stuff, into the 90s. Well, of course, into the 90s, because that's when I joined the Army. So we were doing it into our early 20s in the early 90s. And somehow, now from what I've seen, younger people now, they don't party like that. I don't know what they're doing now. But that whole Bud Light thing was actually an attempt to attract younger people, because I guess younger people aren't drinking it very much, and if they do, it's not beer. So Budweiser was actually trying to attract younger people. I read an article on it. I guess they need their alcoholics in every generation, or their business will go belly up. They were planning for the future, but they were selling out all the rednecks who drink their beer now. But that's what that was about. The kids nowadays, though, the point is that the kids nowadays don't even party like that like we used to. We used to get hammered and do dumb stuff. Nowadays, I'm not even sure what they do. I hear, and see stuff online, but nothing like what we used to do. And I hear dumb stuff about, whatever, kids eating Tide Pods or stuff like that. We did stuff that would make that look like rocket science. Yeah. If we're honest and we talk about the things we actually did when we were that age, that stuff doesn't compare. But we played our music loud. Cops were called often. We rocked. People puking out in the lawn. I've actually woken up the next day on somebody's lawn, like 2 streets down. Just woke up the next day with the sunrise, and I was like, where am I? What the hell's going on? I had no idea how I got there. Nobody bothered me. I guess maybe whoever lived there in the house didn't notice I was out there, or maybe they just left me alone. I have no clue. I didn't go knocking on their door and asking them questions. I just got up and walked away. But that's a true story. So those those are the kind of parties I'm talking about, and those are the memories I'm talking about. The memory of that incident, for a few weeks afterward wasn't that great. But now that I look back, it's pretty great. And I'm sure y'all have memories like that. Maybe not quite that stupid, but it's something similar. We knew how to party. And I'll leave my fellow Gen Xers there with that. As always, stay frosty, and I'll see you on the next one.